Good morning.
Good
How
morning.
is everybody this Monday morning?
Morning.
Morning.
I get to go home today. I finally got power after 6 days,
Yeah,
hopefully.
Well,
hopefully
that's a
that'll stay
beautiful
that way.
thing.
It is. I'm really tired of not having power. If this ever was widespread across the nation, I think it would kill half the country.
Oh, that was that was a topic of conversation last night about
Oh, yeah?
the infrastructure of our country right now. All right, Mark, let's
Uh,
get rolling since we got a little time.
Yep. Let's get rolling.
Share my screen.
Yep. Let me
Okay,
see
go
if I
right
can get on
ahead.
there. Today we got the markets up a bit. Looks like the Dow is up almost a point, 384 up. So when we look at what we've been dealing with, it's really been a sideways pattern, even on the SPY. We're still under the 200. We did get above the 9 a little bit, but kind of dropped down. We're seeing a little bit of progress, but we'll see. Today will be an up day, maybe. At the end, you never know. The tariffs are not as bad as they were supposedly going to be, is what's out there. If you look at the Dow, um, it looks the same. It's under the 200. It's been having trouble hitting over the 200. Maybe we'll get over it today. We do have a little bit of positivity here in the oscillators. So again, we're seeing this pattern going straight. We'll see if it pops up or comes up, comes down. Still nothing on these indices that I would be buying based on charts on the indices for sure. And you can see here's the Qs. We're just bouncing right along support here, still under the 200. Got a little bit of a positivity, if you call it that, on the oscillators, just on the Qs. But we'll see. It's a percent. Right now we're up a percent. It looks big because it's like 400, but when you have these high numbers on these indexes, it doesn't mean like it did 20 years ago when the market was up 500 points or so. Even the small caps, these have done a little better. At least they've been 4 days above not only support, but the 9 has come down in right along the level of support. So we'll see what happens on small caps. And then of course their oscillators are looking a little bit better too. Um, we need the mags to come back, which looks like they're going to have a pretty good. Oops, hold on, wrong one. A little bit nice. Again, sideways. We'll see if it can pop up still under the 200. So technically bearish, getting a little bit of a pop on the oscillators. Still nothing here because I don't have anything above the 9. It's under the 200. You look at the mags, but I'm going to show you some stocks that are doing much better than this. NVIDIA, it popped up and then went into the sideways pattern. Looks like it's going to be up a little bit today. We had it on our watch list under the 200. Still left it on there because it's, never did go under the 9, and we'll see what happens. But this is when we put it in. So you'd be a little underwater right now if you stayed in it or if you popped out of it. Meta, again, we'll go through these quick. Meta came down, found support on the 200. Okay, it's still under the 9. We'll see if it pops above, it can stay above the 9. But again, that same pattern we're seeing. Microsoft, I'm kind of waiting for this one to do something. It still doesn't have a full close above the 9. Maybe today we'll see that. And then it would go really under the stocks under the 200 list because the oscillators are starting to look good, and we're starting to see a little bit of a pickup. So I'll be watching Microsoft. Nothing I'm going to do with it today though. Apple, same kind of sideways pattern under the 200. We'll have to see. There's a lot of resistance above these stocks. And it's going to take more than one good day to get them past where we need them to be. But it's starting to improve a little bit, technically speaking. Tesla, or Tesla. But again, sideways pattern, finding some resistance. It did close above the 9, not a full candle. We're seeing a little bit of positivity, still under the 200. Okay, still that same pattern. Nothing that, trips my trigger to say I'm going to go buy Tesla right now. Not at this moment. Amazon having trouble at the 200, and we have resistance above it. Same kind of pattern. We'll see what happens. Not above the 9. Seeing a little bit of good stuff here on the oscillators. Not there yet in Google. Same kind of pattern. So Google still kind of in this downward trend, but kind of went sideways. Again, nothing that I see that I want to, put any money into there. But we will see a little bit today. There was some news that came out about Ripple, and you saw Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been in this sideways triangle pattern, and it broke out today. Okay, so it broke to the upside, and we've been seeing, and I've been saying, 82,000 was kind of my line in the sand, and it just kind of followed in between the 200 and the 9. It's finally broken out. The oscillators look good, so Bitcoin is now at 87.5, around in that area. So that's going to affect. And we talked about MicroStrategy last week. MicroStrategy never did go below the 200. Now it's above the 9. Got some resistance up at the 50. But again, this will probably be popping today. And then you got Coin, all the regulars. Coinbase is down along support, just above the 9. So you'll probably see Coinbase pop a little bit today, along with all the other characters. Riots will probably pop today. It's been going along its a support level down here, and then Mara,
What was the news?
Ripple.
Morning.
The SEC is dropping in all their whatever they had against Ripple.
What's Ripple?
Ripple's
like
is it's like a stable coin.
Oh, okay. And there was
Ripple is not a stable coin. It is a utility. American Express, many of the different banking systems have adopted it as a infrastructure build to transfer money systems. So it can become a big player. They've just been in the midst of an enormous amount of lawsuits over the years.
Okay.
So,
and the government let up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, and then they had a Bitcoin or crypto conference last Friday, and the president spoke at that. So it's gaining some traction back. So again, along with the markets today, you're looking at the markets. I put out 2 lists, the momentum list and the under the 200 list. So you guys can go on to I won't go over them, but you can go on to the Discord and see those lists. There's a new one for the momentum list that I've kind of popped up today for me. Oops, hold on.
They're slim pickings. I mentioned
they are
slim pickings. Right?
It's hard to find momentum when the stock market goes down, but here's kind of one here. It's FNMA, doesn't have a resistance level. Let's see if I can move this over here. Okay.
Mortgage.
Yeah, you can see it's it's above the 200, above the 9, above the 50. So it got above that. So again, the Bollinger Bands are kind of sideways. It's just another one that kind of popped up this morning. And then in the under the 200s, if you go look at the list in the Discord, there's another one that kind of popped up for me this morning. That was AI. You can see AI did this same thing, came down, had really good support, the intermediate support level, and now kind of popped up above the 9 for several days. And we're starting to see some oscillation again, kind of weakish, but again, under the 200 with today's pop. We'll see what happens with AI, but that's the other one. But for like watch list today, there's a lot of stuff to watch. Like I'm just going to go through. Like NASDAQ has a nice downward, hit the 200. Now it's above the 9. It's got some room on the top. Okay, we had this on already, so it's above where we put it on. We put it on a couple of days ago, but it's still within its channel, even though it had a bad day Friday. But NASDAQ sitting there. NDAQ, of course. One of my favorites, Berkshire, still following up on the upper Bollinger Band. We've got, this is going to be kind of a Bitcoin play. Hood above the 200, above the 9, got a little channel going up, got a little resistance up at 47-ish. Oscillators are popping a little bit. It calls into this one. This is Uber. Uber's come down, hit the 200. Has a nice move. Got a Bollinger Band and some cells right at the same point around 7807.
this Arizona highway are Roosevelt.
That's a meme stock, so just like Hood, you know, these, a
Yep,
lot of retailers trade it, you know.
yep. Road, we talked about this last Friday. It came down and hit, you know, a lot of times you see that and you wait for a back test, which it did. So, you know, road is something to look at. Again, you got resistance at the 50 and, you know, there's some setups that are coming that we didn't have for a while. And we knew they would start to come back when the market started turning a little bit. Cloudflare, just a little bit over
Come on, Don.
net. So above the 200 again,
That's a good company.
and shop. I think Paul likes Shopify.
Yeah,
This one popped over the 9 and it's got some good oscillation, got some room to run to the top a little bit. You know, you got your support at the 9. So we're starting to see things that we hadn't been able to see for a while. Even the cruise lines, Royal Caribbean,
yeah.
you know, for a couple of days of pop, it's above the, came down, hit the 200. You can see just a good level of support until it's not. But again, I'd want to see more strength out of the MACD on this one. EXPE, Expedia Group. Again, 2 days above the 9, seeing it turn, getting the oscillators. I'd like to see the MACD a little stronger, but again, came right down, hit the 200. You know, and you watch where you have, you know, resistance on 20 upper Bollinger Bands. Again, but we're seeing setups now in the financial area. Morgan Stanley, okay, came down again, the 9 or the 200, popped back up. Goldman Sachs, I mean, we're seeing that same pattern we've been watching for a couple weeks, you know, and then sideways, and then starting to pop back up on Goldman Sachs. Citigroup came down, hit the 200, waited sideways, back up.
I think the banks are like not, I don't hope you don't mind, I chimed in a little bit. I think the banks are a little, certainly less volatile than something like Uber or Hood. They're
Absolutely, yeah.
steadiers, you know, so, you know, they're a lot less risk when you know, to keep that in mind when you trade these. They're just, they don't move as much, but they're slow climbers, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, just seeing the same pattern. You're right. They're not, you know, they're not the meme stocks. They're financials. You know, they're solid for the most part. And then travel, you know, has been coming back. Booking, okay. If you look at booking again, and then what I'm watching on the outside is like airlines. Airlines are, you know, if booking and travel is coming back, look what's happening in airlines. We're seeing the 9 come right down here. And so I'm going to be watching to see if these start popping up. You know, there's United. Here's
That's a lot of support.
here's American, Delta. I mean, it's same thing. It hasn't done it yet, but it's, you know, they're set. You look for the setups in the future. Not that they're going to pop or anything, but you have them on your list. Allegiant, same kind of thing. This is one of my favorite airlines just to fly. Oops. That's okay. SkyWest. Okay, I used to fly this all the time on the West Coast, and this one's actually above the 9, is coming up, hitting some resistance on the 20 a little bit, but we'll see what happens here. But I like SkyWest too. So anyway,
Spring break. People are traveling.
what's that?
Spring break. Kids are traveling.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
airports are very busy.
yep.
Families.
So that's
probably
what.
this quarter they'll do well.
Yeah, and yeah, you're seeing the travel industry, you know, in the financial industry. Of course, we saw crypto. What's happening in crypto? We'll see what happens. You know, we're up 407 on the Dow, which is still under a point. You know, and you know anything can happen. It's been the weekend. Someone can come out in a press conference and blow it all. You know how it's been. So always have your stop set and follow your trading plan. But we're starting to see setups now, so that's a good thing. It's been that downward trend, you know, and then sideways. We're starting to see it do a little bounce on some certain segments, certain sectors, and certain stocks. So, you know, have a trading plan or an investment plan, stick with it, and you know, don't get too greedy. but there's some opportunity out there. Trent from Texas in his RV, and Mark from Nebraska in his hotel.
There you go. If you can see this chart, this is the volatility index chart. We've subsided. Volatility has fallen since March 11th. We're now pre-market right around 1887. And like I have said in the past, you're in that chop bucket. This is where volatility bounces around. This is where people can get sucked in and then spit out, and vice versa. So if we see a break below and close below this 1819 mark, we could be more in a bullish environment. So volatility will subside. A lot of what's producing this is what they call systematic option premium funds, and they have become very popular. And basically, these are funds that play a range. And so, give you an example, on the S&P 500, that example would be 2490 on the below side and 6085 on the top side. And what they're doing is they're buying options on those 2 points. It creates basically a what they call a delta neutral position. And what that does is they recalibrate that at every expiration. And as I've spoken about last week, Friday was a major, roughly $4.5 trillion nominal expiration day. And these funds have to recalibrate after such a big event. So this volatility going down is now being recalculated. Does that mean volatility is gone and what have you? I don't know yet, but we'll see. And I think that's where, when you look at that volatility index and the chop bucket, the investable bucket, chop bucket, and the F bucket, we keep an eye on that. But it's really interesting since March 11th, as volatility fell, stocks went up and recovered. So you can use that as a part of your process. The other thing I wanted to show you was there's a lot of talk about recession in 2025. And typically a recession is a 30% drawdown on stocks, or in this case, I'm using the S&P 500. And what does that look like? And right now we've seen a low drawdown from the top back in was March 19th, or excuse me, February 19th, down to the low in March 13th, and then it bounced back up. And that was roughly 10% drawdown, which means if we're going to go into a recession, you would see another 20% drawdown on top of that. But right now we've bounced up. We saw the VIX come down, the volatility come down. We saw, in this case, the S&P 500 go up. But we're getting in a zone of resistance. So the question is, will we break through that resistance? Will volatility ramp back up and push stocks back lower? And I wanted to show you this chart because what does 30% drawdown on the S&P look like? And that puts us right around 4,013, which is a pretty significant drop from where we are today. So keep in mind, that would put us back in around, what was this, November of 23 area. And so it gives you an idea where support could be if we do see a recession type market. So keep that in mind. I still believe we're still in sort of the woods in a sense. We're not out of the woods yet when it comes to, are we recovering? Are we headed back to a bull market? Looking at what the presidential administration is trying to do and suppress yields, when you look at that, right now the 10-year here is at 4.3%. The top end for today is about 4.35. The low end is about 4.19. That's today's range the 10-year yield could trade in. Volatility on the U.S. Treasury market is low and has been subsiding since the 12th, as well as the VIX has. And then the U.S. dollar has uh, gone up over the last, number of days since the 19th. And we could potentially see a move higher up towards 104.94. So there's a lot still going on. I think we're still in the woods when it comes to, are we in the recovery mode? Are we going to start making back that 10% drawdown at the lows earlier last month, this month? So I'd still be cautionary in this environment. I also am going to be sending out Kerry's cheat sheet. I applied my more intermediate term plan to it, and so I'm going to be sending that out, and it'll give you where most of those stocks are trading on an intermediate term and below or above the 200 days. So it'll give you an idea there of what Kerry's stock ideas look like. And I'll be sending it out probably later tomorrow or tomorrow morning. So take a look at that if you're using Kerry's stock ideas to invest in. That's what I got. Let's open up to the group and questions, ideas, comments.
Did,
This is
Um,
this is Roger. I got a question. Are
sure.
y'all guys looking at any quantum stocks? Because I see them I mean it's not every day, but like maybe every 2, 3 days, they're like running up big time.
which particular stock?
Sometimes it's Rigetti, sometimes it's QUBTS, QUB, IonQ. I mean, you name it. I found this new one the other day called Lays, like LAES, I think. It's a quantum chip maker.
What's the symbol on it?
LAES, I believe. Hold on, let me look it up again.
I mean, I've traded a few of those stocks, but you have to be very
Yeah,
careful because of their volatility. You
Right,
know,
yeah.
right,
they're in the market. You have to watch these charts so close. It's not like the charts that Mark had just reviewed. There, there's a clear trading strategy with Mark's approach.
right.
Um, but and you have to develop your own. I think if you find you could put one of these up. What's the Q one?
Give
That's
me,
one of the most popular ones.
give me the
Uh,
symbol.
Q
QUBT or QUBTS is there's QUBT and then there's QUBTS. One is like D Wave and
Yeah, that's not a good one. I mean, yeah. Oh no, that's fine. Yeah. So, I mean, Mark, you could go through this, but this thing is so volatile and it's so hard to use these oscillators to guide you.
got you.
So, I mean, you have to micromanage those. I mean, obviously, Mark,
What's
you
the
could,
volume
so
on it?
it's crazy for
Um,
that. That's
we're
well,
looking at,
maybe OKOO or the OK one is really high, but I don't know about that one.
take a look here in volumes. Yeah, we got big volumes on them, millions.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
the
yeah, it's
liquidity
like
is there.
a lot of these, you get a lot of day traders and things into these, especially when they're at, $7 a share or something like that, but you know, it's like Paul said, you got to watch it and you got to make sure you have stops in, otherwise it can get away from you pretty quick, like right here. Okay. So, uh, but again, it's come up, it's hit resistance, come back down. Um, it's a play because it's volatile, you
Okay,
know, so you can play the volatility on it. Again, I talk about technicals and trading, and Trent talks a little more longer term, and I know Paul has some longer term stuff too. And I look at my longer term stuff differently on a technical basis than I do on my swing trades. But yeah, I mean, it's a little beyond my risk tolerance, but certainly within trading ability. Like Paul said, you keep an eye on it.
right, right. Okay.
It's not something you probably buy and then go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Right,
you
right,
got to
Mhm.
babysit these unless you're a true quantum lover,
right.
unless you're, so quantum doesn't generate any money. It's just so big in the narrative right now that people believe it's going to, be the big thing after AI. So you're
Got you.
betting on the meat, right? So you're betting on that whole thought versus you know, Mark's going through some technicals. It's the risk reward and the probability is so much greater than something like the quantum. I mean, you can make big bucks on the quantum, but it's more of a what
It's
do
a
you call it?
trader market.
Casino,
Yeah,
casino. You know?
got you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand.
So
I
Is it?
understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, no problem.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the question.
hey,
What
Mark,
else
could
we
you put
got?
up SPX? I think that's the S&P, or maybe that's one that is
Yeah,
that
That
it's
what
is
you
the
use?
SPG.
S&P 500.
So if you look at that, you see that from a technical standpoint, you can see the MACD is just starting to turn. So I'm taking note of that. You know, it's getting. It looks like it appears that it's taken a turn, but you know,
Yeah,
obviously we watch it. So that's interesting, right? We haven't seen that in a while.
yeah, and it's going to have some resistance. You got the 20 and the 200 right there, so it'll probably have some resistance. We'll have to see, Paul, because I see these go up. They'll hit. They either can get by, come back down, back test, and go up, or they hit, go down, or they get up and they can't. You know, so we're not out of the woods yet in SPX or the Qs or Dow, but we're seeing some improvement. You know,
Right.
you're seeing
You
that
see,
nine turn. You're seeing that nine turn, and you're
yeah.
seeing the oscillators come back a little bit.
I think the biggest thing is you got to get past that break that trend. You know, what Mark uses the 9 and the 20 and the 50, the 200. You got to break that long-term trend, and that trend has been going on since what, mid-February. So until we
About
see that
11.
break,
Yeah,
yeah, until we see that break, you're still in more murky water in the sense. It's pretty cloudy directionally because, you know, you think about it, the institutions have made money all the way down on the short side. They're now taking those profits down at the bottom, and in turn they're pumping it up and they're sucking people into, oh, this is the dip, buy the dip. And they're basically in the world of buy the dip, sell the rip kind of mentality. So you got to keep that in mind as well. But look at the money flow. There's some money flow indicators that give you an idea of if money's coming in or if money's coming down. You can see that in the volume as well.
yeah.
So when I look at the S&P, volume has declined since the bottom. So there's, you know, not a lot to push it higher. And that's what we want. We want to see that volume increase.
I see crazy
So
volume on the S&P. On the S&P, I show
I'm looking,
like the volume of 64.8 million versus typically it's 20 to 30 million shares. So Friday was a big day for what I'm seeing on my chart.
I'm looking at the S&P here. Let me pull up SPX. Okay, yes. So Friday you had a big volume day, but if you look prior to that, volume declined into, and on SPX, you got,
I,
if you look at the RSI and 50 is your go or no go line, you're still at 41.69 on the SPX. So you're still in a relative strength, you
but
know,
it's the highest
weakness and
volume. Look at that volume stick. I mean, that's
that's
interesting, right? Yeah.
that's one day.
No, I
But look
get
at
you,
the
but it's
prior
twice the
day.
volume.
So yeah. So what are they doing there?
Well, you mentioned it was that options day, so perhaps that is, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that you're seeing a recalibration there. You're seeing people zero out their position. So I don't know. I think the next couple of days, you know, you got to get past these
It's
resistance levels.
it's weird because
Be-
you had this volume, but you didn't really have any movement. Like back here, where you had a big volume day, you had some movement. You know,
right.
we haven't seen that yet, and that's probably goes back to the options expiration. I would imagine, like Paul said,
Yeah. I mean, that was
Well,
a ton, 4.5 trillion.
aren't,
What's
64.
that, Bob?
aren't those positions that have been zeroed out are probably now creeping in to new positions this
Yeah,
morning? They're
Yeah.
not probably
They're-
all going all the way in, but they're starting to move in.
yeah.
Well,
Um,
you think
I see
about,
good signs.
I agree with you. We've been watching it, you know, for the last week or so. Just go sideways. I said, It's not yet there. And when I look at the indexes, for me, I want to see it get above the 200 for more of a long-term, celebration of the indexes and the market in general. But it's certainly promising more than it was, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to throw out there a comment on the quantum stocks. Those
Yeah.
stocks, as you were talking about, you have to watch. A lot of people have to understand that some of those retailers, they work in groups. So they suck you in and then they dump right away. And it's a group of them dumping, so you got to kind of be very cautious of those.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying. So if you're not
Well,
aware
Well,
of
it's,
that.
yeah, it's the same with the Bitcoin and the crypto stocks are very volatile too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, you can't make money on them. You just you gotta put more of a
Yeah.
microscope on them.
Yeah, it's like trading an option. You gotta keep your eye on it.
Yeah.
yeah. Take a look at Palantir PLTR.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been ripping. It's like I
I
might
wouldn't use
start
the
to,
word ripping, but it's
well,
turning.
it was. Well,
Yeah.
it had a decent return from, it was at 82, 81, right? It was down to 81, 82. It's at 90 something right now. I'm sorry, I'm not in front of my screen, but
Yeah.
it's in the 90s and it's moving up. This morning early, I thought it was up like $8, $9 again. I don't know where it's at now, but I would call that starting to rip. Okay, because starting to get a decent return. Same thing with Tesla. Tesla's ripping. It's starting to move up significantly.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
Palantir just because of the name, but I mean, you gotta be careful. Like Palantir's good. I like, and the same, I don't know, Tesla, I just can't bring myself to buy it. I like app loving too with this one.
I'm
It's
loving. I
Me-
mean, that
yeah,
that thing is like volatile too. It's up, it's
yeah.
sideways. I don't know. I'd probably go. I'm going to buy some Tesla. I think he has a lot more coming.
Look, I like that we're above the 9 again, but we do have a lot of resistance right above it. So we'll see,
I said I was going to creep in. I'm not going to pour in yet.
So, so
So
to
I
give
s-
you some a quick stat
Go ahead.
on Tesla, $8 billion of retail trader money has come into Tesla in the last 2 weeks. So
Yeah,
they
I
have
can
been
believe that.
buying the dip, and I'll put a chart up on the Discord under the Morning Edge section,
I would
and
say
you can see that chart there.
Trent, that's support for Elon with all the bullshit going on.
Yeah,
From the
support
retail
as in
market.
people supporting Elon.
Yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
have that.
Yeah,
There's a meeting that he ran. I don't know if it happened. There's a meeting or something in the news where he said that, hey, stock shareholders, don't sell your
Yeah,
stock.
yeah,
Did you see that?
with his,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was with his employees. Says,
Yeah.
don't sell it. Hold on, because there are a lot of good things coming.
yeah,
So Bob, do you have
yeah.
your Tesla locked in a garage for a while so it doesn't get burned up?
I'm sorry.
Do you have
What's
your
that?
Tesla locked in a garage so it doesn't get burned up?
And make sure he has
I'll be
fire
honest
insurance.
with you. I've been driving it less because I get harassed on the road. And,
Do you really?
yeah, absolutely. I get harassed. I had a woman last week. I had to settle. I've been driving my other car more because of this issue. I had a woman last week wouldn't let me move out of the right lane into the middle lane, and then she flies up on the side of me, gives me the finger, and takes off. Of course, I couldn't resist. I had to go after her, and I put in beast mode and took off after her, and opened the window and gave her the finger right back. But it's just like the harassment is crazy. What's going on?
Insanity.
You're driving a car, and mine's a Cybertruck, so that it sticks out, right? So it's not the standard
Right.
Tesla. And they're harassing everybody because they're mad at what Elon is doing to save us tax money. Hello?
So, do a quick story. when I first moved to the South, the guy who worked for my dad, was from New Jersey. He had moved to the South as well. He was driving down the road and some guy cut him off and he flipped him off. The guy pulls up next to him. The passenger opens the window and pulls out a shotgun and points it straight at him. And
Well, that's
basically,
what would
he
happen
learned
here.
you
Right?
don't flip people off in the
That's
South.
right. Yeah. Nor in Florida too. You know, Florida, you know, people carry guns in their car. You know,
Yeah.
don't
Oh, yeah.
do that. And they don't do it
Yeah.
in Florida, what I understand. I don't have a Tesla down here, but in Florida, you know,
There's so
you
many
better,
of them.
yeah, you better restrain yourself. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Here in Nebraska, we
um,
carry sidearms on our side. So
yeah.
You carry it concealed, or you're carrying it openly.
you can open carry here.
Yeah, with
Hey, Mark.
DeSantis is talking about that now on passing a law you can carry openly here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, take a look at ACHR as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now, and
Yeah.
it's I think they make drones or something, maybe. But I noticed that when there's high volume and there's a big candle like that, the next day it appears to me that there's a red day. So that's what I'm noticing when I look at the chart. But
I don't
yeah,
like this here. Of course, me. I don't like this level of resistance, but that's just me. But
Yeah.
oscillators look good. Archer Aviation, okay. Had a nice big candle like a lot of them did on Friday. 51 million shares compared to 15 million the day before, 19 million, 17 million. So it had a big pop Friday.
Yeah. So
But it's above the 200. I like that. It's above the 9. I
What
just
do
don't
we-
like that line. But I see a lot of times, price action will get past resistance and up to where the sell level is, and then level off and come back down. If these resistance lines remain, they can change day to day. But I've seen it, it'll go up like this and then come back. And you got Bollingers that are parallel, but starting to widen out a little bit on Archer. But here's that little hockey stick again. Go ahead.
What do we have? What are we expecting this week? I didn't get up to date on the calendar yet, but what are we expecting as far as news this week?
I think it's PCE this week, isn't that? That's the Fed's preferred inflation rate is the big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
Here,
it?
let me show
That's what
you.
we're expecting?
Well, that's the big one. Yeah.
So this is the calendar for the week here.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
see this. There
I
you
put
go.
it out
So
every
today-
weekend. Yeah, PCE on
Yeah.
Friday.
So we got PMI manufacturing or S&P Flash US Services manufacturing PMI.
That's a big one today. Yeah.
Yeah. Case Shiller Home Index, Consumer Confidence is tomorrow, and new home sales, durable goods on Wednesday, initial jobs claims. That's the one is that the one you're always talking about, Mark? That if we're going to see a recession, increase in jobless claims.
Yeah.
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 So that'll be interesting on Thursday.
Well, Case Shiller is a good report because that cuts through the BS of the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot going on. I mean, not super a lot that could move markets a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just day to day with this administration and Trump. You never know how many what's coming out when, but it's constant.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like
keeps
this
the
morning, the
market
news
busy.
was he's backing off a little on the tariff talk. So markets are up this morning. So just be aware that the first 30 minutes of the day is the kiddies in the kiddie pool, the processing of overnight futures orders, and
you got all the retail
Yeah.
orders coming in that are piled up over the weekend, market orders and such.
yeah.
My
So-
rule is 10. You don't trade till after 10 o'clock, 10:30.
That's probably a good rule. I say 30
everything's
to
settled.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the other time
Yeah.
frame? The other time frame I have is wait till after 2:30.
That's me
before
too.
you know, before
Yeah.
you make any
That's Eastern
changes to your
time, right?
portfolio. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, are
Right.
you on the beach right now?
I am.
I'm so jealous.
You know why? Because it's spring break down there. That's why he's on the beach.
Yeah, where I am,
Like,
they're not really here. They're down in Miami and Tampa area.
so
They're not up here
they're
in the north.
across the road from my house. They're burning down buildings. That's how bad it's getting in our area.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gangs
Wow.
of kids running amok. So I'm glad I'm in Texas today. Uh, hopefully they just don't
Unless
come into
your
my
house is getting
neighborhood.
burnt.
Well, I'm in the low end district, so I'm across from the 8-figure home, so it's good. They stay away from me.
Is that your own observance, Trent, that Trump is talking less trade talk?
I
No,
saw a
that's
headline
news.
on it,
That's the
just
news
news.
today.
Okay.
Yeah. So
He's,
and
he's,
that's go ahead.
I
I,
would,
I think that go ahead, Bob. What do you guys say?
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I think that's the one thing about Trump. I had this discussion last night with somebody was Trump is the way he negotiates, it's full force and then back off and come to some reasonable agreement. I think that's what we're seeing a lot of in this, first 2 months of his administration. I think we should expect that. But the news and the Wall Street plays that headline. So
yeah.
be careful getting sucked into it because tomorrow he could come out and say, we're throwing 100% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and whatever else, that's
I
an
saw, I
extreme,
saw
but
some,
that's his extreme.
I saw some news just this morning, and they were talking, and they're talking, and it's only about 10 to 15 countries we're really going to even have these kind of tariffs on. There's reciprocals, and so
Yeah.
when you think about how many hundreds of countries there are, got to put it in perspective. I'm not so worried about the tariffs. We've done this before, during version 1.0, and like you said, Trent, I think it all goes down to negotiating something better, and it'll all work out in the end. But
Yeah.
tariffs are not the main thing for me to worry about. I mean, they cause a catalyst of volatility, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Is April
Yeah.
2nd the day? I think there's 8 trading days, right? Before some of these take effect,
Yeah, April 2nd would
theoretically.
be next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Not this week Wednesday, next week Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's fun times in the market.
Any final questions or ideas?
Don't get caught up on
No?
this opening. I see the futures are, my thought is all these futures are up.
Yeah.
Don't get caught.
It's all the
Because
new money
yeah.
coming back in.
Yeah.
So,
It's all Bob's money from the beach coming back in.
no, no.
the word on the street is he's buying Tesla, so
That's right.
he
Bob's
can't, he
buying
can't
Tesla
drive it.
I can look at it.
You can look at it.
I
There you
heard
go.
that the sales are highest ever. Like people are like selling
Well,
Teslas.
people like me are wanting to buy them, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to support the guy. How can you not?
He's a smart guy. He
Yeah.
knows how to innovate, change.
Hey, here's a question. Um, has anybody done, so there are avenues, accredited investor. So I'm an accredited investor. I don't know how many you have here that are accredited investor, but have you looked at, Mark, do you have any information on buying like stocks that you can buy off the market, like SpaceX, you can buy shares? I've been starting to look into this. I don't know, have you done it or something you're not interested in?
I've looked into it, and it's a long-term thing. It's not like the market is fluid and you can sell your shares once you're into it,
Right.
So you're in it. And then it's more of a partnership kind of thing. So the taxes are a little different on how you do that. But I've looked into it. I can be accredited, but I've not bought into anything. I've bought my own businesses before, just me and some partners, but I've never really I've looked into some, people bring ideas by and I look at them and I've never really got into one, Bob.
There was
So
a
those,
company
so,
that
so, go
there
ahead.
was a company that used to sponsor best of US investors. That's what they did. They linked you up with companies where the employees were selling off the shares, but it was privately held. And there were some major companies. Tesla, I think, was one of those companies. I don't remember the name of it, and I think it went through a phase of I don't know if they're still in business, but there is a market for that. Just finding the companies who do it. I think SpaceX or Starlink would be awesome to get
Right.
if
That's
you
what
could
I'm
get a handle
looking
on.
at.
Yeah, that would be cool, but
Put a
Yeah.
percentage of my money into that. I want to try that. But just so those here that know what a credit investor is they have to have $1 million or more in assets.
right.
So
It's 250K 2 years in a row of
salary,
income
right?
with salary, and then or $1 million plus in investable assets, not excluding your home and art and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
it's
Yep.
liquid cash. Yeah. So cool. All right. Well, we're at the 8:15 or quarter after wherever you're at. Bob, enjoy the beach.
Yeah,
I
Bob.
am.
You're good.
I gotta
Get
go
my
home
take a
today.
picture, by
exercise
the
in.
way.
Yeah, I gotta go home
Between-
today. I think I have power finally.
Well, that's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing for you, Mark.
Tell me about it. It's been exhausting 5 days.
Yeah.
You might want to take some of those wins if you're staying in Nebraska. You may want to get that whole house generated.
Yeah, yeah. My eyes have been open to this whole electrification thing and how easy it is to turn that off, and not get it back. So thank God for petrol and fuel because that's what kept my generators going and my house going. Was
Yeah.
fossil fuel.
Yep.
All
Understood.
right, guys.
All right. Have a great day.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys.
You guys
Yeah.
take care.
Trade safe today.
Live out. See ya.